Hi, Tim Horschel, New Voyager Trading. Today we're going to put together your new Minstrel wheel. Follow along with your printed instructions. The video is going to show you some of the highlights. So let's get going. The first thing we want to do is some preparation work. This adjusting screw that goes on the top of your wheel post, you want to coat it with candle wax just to give it some lubrication. And this metal rod goes between your two treadles. I want you to coat that with paraffin, candle wax, not soap. So when you insert it in the treadle rail, it'll be lubricated and ready to go. Okay, now we're ready to put the legs and treadles onto the wheel. There is a right and a left front leg. Make sure you have those correct. The treadles go in between the left and right front legs. Make sure that they swing easily, and when you've got them lined up and push them in, then use a mallet or a hammer on the end of the legs to seat them well into the bench here. There are registration marks underneath here that the Kromskis have put on. You can use those to help line up the posts so they're at the right angle for you. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is mount the wheel up on the two stirrups here that hold it. There's a bushing here on the back side already installed. You'll want to come around to the front side and put a bushing here, and then with these small pegs, you're going to secure the bushing into the stirrup by pushing that over the top and along a little slot in the bushing there to secure the wheel. And she should rotate freely at this point. Now we're going to take your two footmen and attach them to the crank and to the treadle. Keep in mind there's one footman with a small hole and one with a larger hole here. It's important on where they go on the crank. The larger hole goes on to the part of the crank that has a brass bushing. You'll slip it over the bushing. The other one goes onto the U-shaped part of the crank, and you'll use this screw here to tighten them up, but they have to be able to swing easily on the crank. Okay, now we need to tie the footman back here to the treadle, and we do have a separate video online that shows how to properly tie the footman. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to tie a square knot at the bottom of the footman. We're going to take both ends down through the treadle, and in the case of the Minstrel, one end comes up through one hole, one through the other, and you want this connection footman to treadle to be secure, not loose, and just go ahead and tie a knot or a bow here. Continuing, we're going to take our threading hook, and we can store it here on this hole here in the front of the bench. And over here we have a two-rod cate. Holds your bobbins or for plying. Goes together with a carriage bolt and a washer and a wing nut underneath here. Okay, and here, top of the post here, is a metal stud, threaded stud. This is to hold your extra whirl when you're not using it. I like to use a magic marker and note that these are reverse threads, so to get this on, you turn it counterclockwise and go ahead and store your extra whirl at that location. Okay, now we've got your threaded adjusting screw and this block with a piece of leather on the end. The block goes inside the recessed area here at the top of the post. The threaded rod comes down through, and this is your adjusting controls for tensioning the drive band on the Minstrel. And just get her down there, and we'll adjust that later on as we get ready to put the flyer on. Okay, now we're ready to put your flyer on. That's the flyer, the bobbin, and the whirl here at the end. We're using the larger one here for beginners. That's the one you want to start with. And it's as simple as getting the drive bands and getting that over the flyer temporarily here, putting the spindle there in the back leather. The front drops in and snaps in place on the front, and then typical setup has the drive band one loop going on the pulley that's on the bobbin and the other loop going around the wheel. And once you get that in place, you can make a temporary adjustment on the tension, the actual tensioning you'll do as you get ready to spin. Okay, we're getting close to being done. Here's your Scotch tension parts, peg, brake band, and a spring on the end. These are going to go on the wheel now. You may or not use them depending on whether you're going to use them single drive or double drive. But to install them and store them, the spring typically goes on the left hand side. You install an eye hook over there. Goes over the top. It'll go on the bobbin pulley and then through this other eye hook. And what we're going to do is wind the excess onto the peg, and it goes here. And this is what you use to tension the brake band when you're not using it, just to release the tension. Put the unit underneath, and you can take that slack out, and it'll be ready when you're ready to use single drive with Scotch tension. We do suggest that these eye hooks, you open them up just a bit so you can take the spring and the brake band off very easily to make adjustments, or when you're going to ply or change the flyer to a jumbo flyer unit. And the last step, your decorative cap. It goes on the top of this post here. This post is also set up so if you want to get a distaff for the Minstrel, you can put it on here, and then again the cap will go on top as a decorative piece. But your Minstrel's all put together now. What we want to do is go over a couple of things in terms of lubrication, how to do it, where to do it. With your needle nose applicator, you'll want to lubricate right here at the crank and the Footmen. This location, the inside and the outside crank. And then on the brass bushing here in the rear, and if you'll turn it around to the front, a couple of drops of oil on this bushing. This will allow your wheel and your treadles, your Footmen, to move easily. You can even oil down on the treadle rails where they go through the legs. And here at the top of the wheel, moving parts, these leather bearings, we instruct you to saturate them with oil when you get it out of the box. But keep them dark and brown, and each time you sit down to spin, 3 or 4 drops on the leather, front and rear, will do it. And then on the spindle here where the bobbin rides, front and rear, there's a bushing on the bobbin. You should have a drop of oil on both ends so that the bobbin rotates smoothly and your wheel rotates, and it will do what you want. Okay, that's it for the Minstrel. Again, refer to your written instructions. You can download these online if you ever forget them. Also remember that we've got a number of other videos online about general purpose spinning and setting up wheels and adjusting things and lubrication and tying the Footmen. Please look at those as well. Appreciate you purchasing the Kromski Minstrel. Tim Horschler for New Voyager. Thanks a lot.